Hello and welcome to our physics game series. To start things off, we are going to create a slingshot style aiming for our game. Let's get started. So first, of course, we need to create our projects, and if you watched our last series, then you might remember that just pressing the new project button, we can create the new project. And for the project name, well, I'm going to call it ball game. And for the other options, we can leave them as they are, and we press create. And now that we have our project here, there are two things I want to do first. One thing is to take the viewport size here. I just copy it and then change it to be the size of the layout so that the viewport and the whole level is the same size. If you happen to press somewhere else and can't find where the viewport size is, you can take the layout properties and go down here. Here's the project properties, press the view, and here you can find it in the display section. Here is the viewport size. And then the other thing is I want to change the background color to make it a little bit darker. Maybe something like that. I think that looks good. And now, well, of course, first we need to create a ball for our game that we can use for aiming and shooting. So we can create it by right-clicking on the layout, choosing the insert new objects, and here we want to take the sprite. And for the name, let's call it SPR_ball. And then just press enter and click once to the layout. And now I'm just going to draw really simple ball for our game. Okay, now we have our quick ball. Now we can close the editor, but now it's really big, so of course we want to change the size. Here from the properties, I'd say 32 by 32 is good size. Looks like it. And now for the other thing that we need to make is the slingshot, or the middle points of the slingshot that we are going to use. And we can do it just by cloning this ball that we just made. Just right clicking and choosing the clone. And then of course we want to rename it to be, well, let's call it slingshot. Oh, that's not right. Slingshot. And then double click it to open it. And just to make it a little bit different, I'm going to add a small dot here in the middle, right around there. Then close the window and drag it over here. And for this, let's make it smaller. So maybe 16 by 16. And that's our middle point of the slingshot. And now we can start to make the logic for our slingshot, or for the aiming. So we can jump to the event sheet. And the first thing is that we want to set the position of the ball to be the same as the position of the slingshot. And we want to do that every tick. So we add a new event. We choose the system. And here is the condition called every tick. So it will happen all the time in the game. And how we can set the position is we make a new action. We choose the ball as an object. And under here, the size and position part, there is set position action. And here we just need to set the position of the slingshot. So for the x coordinate, we are going to choose the SPR underscore slingshot dot x. So that will give us the x coordinate of the slingshot. And then we can copy it and change the x to y, which will give the y coordinate of the slingshot. Then we press play, not play, done. And now we can press play and check if it works. Looks like it. But there's one problem. I don't want the slingshot to be on top of the ball. So we can go to the layout, press the slingshot once, right click it, and here the Z order, we want to send it to bottom of the layer. So now if we play, the ball should be on top of the slingshot. Looks like it. Okay, and now next we want to rotate the ball depending on where our mouse is or where we are clicking. And to do that, we need to add something to our project, and we do it the same way as the sprites, choosing the new object. And here is something in the input section. There's something called touch. And well, we could use the mouse also, but the touch is for the mobile devices, that if we are touching the screen, it will count that also. But we can also use the mouse when we choose the touch. So if we want to import it to the mobile devices, then we can just do it easily as we use the touch from the start. So now we want to check if we press or touch the screen or use the mouse. And we can do that by, first we want to make a sub event of the every tick event. And we can do it by choosing or highlighting the event and then pressing B. So we can make a sub event. And what sub event is that if this is true, then we are going to check if this event's condition is true. So here we want to set for the condition. Here we choose the touch. It appeared here when we add it to the project. And here is something is in touch. So true if any touch is currently in contact with the device. And again, it will work with the mouse also. And next, we want to set the angle depending on where our, well, in this case, mouse is. And well, setting the angle can be done here from the ball. And here is the set angle action. And here for the angle, it might be difficult to calculate if you're not really good at trigonometry or math overall. But a good thing about the Construct 3 is that we don't have to calculate it ourselves. There is actually a tool that Construct will provide that will do it automatically for us. And it's called angle. So the name of the function is the angle, and then we need to put the braces around it. And here we need to give 4 different parameters for the function for it to work. We need to give the x and y coordinates of the starting position. So, well, in this case, basically it will be the point where we are going to touch. And then the x and y coordinates of the position, in this case, the position of the slingshot, that we can calculate what's the angle between the 2 positions. So we can do it just by writing the touch.x, which is the x coordinate of the touch where we are touching at that point. Then touch.y, and then we choose the SPR underscore slingshot.x, and the same but with the y. And now it's turned to blue so that it's correct. It has the correct amount of parameters. And if you're not sure what this angle does, you can press here the find expressions, and here you can find every single function that the construct will provide for all of the objects that you have in the game. If we check here the system, and let's make it a little bit bigger. No, that's, well, and here we can just type angle, and here we can find in the math section here the angle says to calculate the angle in degrees between 2 points. And we can try to find all the math related. There is a lot of different functions for maths, and you just need to know what kind of function to use in which situation. So at first it might be difficult, but we will help during this series every time we need to use this. So I think it will be fine. And so now that we have the setting angle done, well, we can try it if it works. I'm just going to put a small dot on our ball to check if it will rotate. Now if we press, looks like it will rotate, and if we don't press anything, nothing will happen. So looks like it will work. But next we want to move the ball to the position of the touching, so that we can sort of stretch the slingshot and later shoot the ball depending where the ball is. So how we can do that is again to make new action, and we choose the ball, and here is something called move at angle. And well, like the name says, it will move object a number of pixels at a given angle. So if we choose this, first we need to set the angle that we want to move, and we can do it just by saying self, which is the same as the SPR_ball, but I like to use the self, so we use so it will use the angle of the ball that we are using as a object of this action. And now for the distance, of course we can't just put like constant value here, like 50 or something, because our mouse might be closer or farther from the slingshot. So again, we are going to use one of the construct's math tools or functions, and it's called distance. And what it will do is to calculate distance between two different points. So just as like with angle, we need to give x and y coordinate of the starting position and the x and y coordinate of the target position. So here the starting position is going to be touch.x and touch.y, and then the target position is the slingshot.x and slingshot.y, and again it turns to blue to indicate that it has correct amount of parameters. And now if we press done and play, we can try it, and there's a small problem because the ball will be in the opposite direction from the mouse. So we need to add to the angle 180 degrees, so which is like half circle. So if we play it now, it should be on top of the mouse like this. Now looks like it's working well, but there's one thing that I want to change, is that I don't want the player to be able to stretch the ball this far. So we want to put some kind of max value that we are going to choose. So we can do it by using once again another math function, and it's called min. And then we are going to put the braces around everything. So what the min will do is it's going to choose between two different values, the one that is smaller. So if we put here the other value to be maybe 100. So in this case, if our mouse is closer than 100 pixels from the slingshot, then it's going to choose the distance between the mouse and the slingshot. But if it's more than 100, then it's just going to use the 100 as the distance. So here, if we play the game now, it looks like it will work if we keep it in the close to the slingshot. But if we take it farther, now it will be stay at the 100 pixels at max. So that way we can't stretch the slingshot too much. And now it looks like it's working properly. And one final thing we are going to do in this episode is to add the rubber band between the ball and the slingshot. So let's make a new sprite. And I'm going to make it really small, maybe 8 by 8. And then I'll just make it white. Oh, and one thing we need to do is to set the origin point to be on the top, not in the top, on the right here. So now we can close it. Then let's zoom a little bit and put it right here, so the origin point is in the middle of the slingshot. Actually, might be, well, let's put the width really small, and maybe height can be 6. I think that looks better. And now, when we jump to the event sheet, we want to put here on every tick that we put the width of the rubber. Well, let's rename it. Rename SBR underscore rubber band. So yeah, so we want to set the width of the rubber band to be 0 if we don't touch anywhere in the screen. So we can add a new action, choose the rubber band, and here in size and position is set width. And well, it already gives us the 0, so we can just choose that. And then here, when we are touching, first we want to set the angle to be the same as the angle of the ball. So basically we can just copy this by Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, as we want to keep the angle calculations the same. But we just want to change the ball to be the rubber band, and we can do it by first highlighting the action, then pressing R button. So here we can choose the object to be replaced, and we want to replace the ball to be the rubber band. And now it should work. And one final thing is that we want to set the width to be the same as the distance between the ball and the rubber band on the slingshot. So the rubber band will stretch depending on how far the ball is from the slingshot. So we make a new action, choose the rubber band, again here find the set width, and again we are going to use the distance calculation or the function, but this time we are not going to use the touch, we are going to use the ball's x coordinate and the y coordinates, and then the slingshot.x and slingshot.y. And now if we press done and try to play the game, now the rubber band will stay here, but the thing is that I want to put the rubber band under the other objects. So again, we can go to the layout, choose the rubber band, right click on it and choose the Z order and send it to the bottom of the layer. So now it shouldn't be on top of the ball and the slingshot. So now we have working aiming for our game. And yeah, that's everything for this episode. The math part might be difficult to grasp at first, but it will get easier the more you use them. So just be patient with them. And in the next episode, we are going to make shooting for a game so we can throw the ball around. So I'll see you then.